It's Championship Saturday from Pam Evans Smith Arena on the campus of Wittenberg University in Springfield, Ohio, as the Division II Ohio High School Athletic Association Boys Volleyball Championships are upon us. With Olentangy Berlin girls basketball coach Michelle Memna, I'm Chris Selwecki. Thank you so much for joining us as we prepare for the very last game of the 2026 boys volleyball season, the Division II State Championship featuring Bishop Fenwick out of Middletown and St. Vincent-St. Mary's out of Akron. And Michelle, you talk about these two teams. They both bring a unique style of volleyball, and it's always interesting to me the differences between Division I and Division II. It's not so much in skill as it is in size, and so when you're smaller, you figure out ways to do things differently. And we saw yesterday two teams that are able to, what's the word? They kind of play it on the fly very, very often and very well, and that served them well as they've gotten here to Championship Saturday.
Innovate.
Innovate, there you go.
They're able to innovate.
Yeah.
Actually, my point was going to be we have two very different teams. We have an incredibly athletic St. Vincent-St. Mary team that is going to cause problems with their blocking, their reach, their size. And then you have a Bishop Fenwick team that has all kinds of variety in their offense. Parker Posey runs a great offense, lots of different options. So I think it's going to be a very interesting matchup today.
Talk about Posey a little bit. He's a 6'1" senior setter/outside hitter, or opposite hitter, I should say. 6 rotation player, lots of kills, lots of digs, lots of assists. His coach describes him as the quarterback of the front court.
He does, and he scores not only as a hitter, but also as a setter. Not every setter is comfortable attacking the ball for fear of making errors, for fear of giving a free ball. But he hit 500 yesterday, 12 kills, 2 errors, 20 attempts. And honestly, he should probably hit more.
No doubt.
They should probably try to find ways to find him the ball more in the front row. But, he's certainly, I can see that coming from his coach. He runs things. He never comes off the floor. Certainly someone who is that kind of prototypical floor general.
They have won 15 out of 16 matches down the stretch. They are playing exceptionally well. On the other side, we're talking St. Vincent-St. Mary out of Akron, record of 16-9, coached by Logan Jennings. And they've got a number of players. Jaden Jacobs is a kid who can jump out of the gym, but the player we want to focus on right now is a guy with maybe a little less athleticism, but man, oh man, he's got a head for the game and court awareness, Nate Sparhawk.
Yeah, number 3, outside hitter, had a great semifinal, 14 kills in a 3-set match, by the way, which means he does get the ball quite a bit. Only 2 errors on 30 swings. Again, just a fantastic efficiency. We're talking about if you hit 250 as an outside, people are ecstatic. Our 2 players that we're talking about hit 400 and 500 yesterday. So I expect Sparhawk not only to be powerful, but I expect him to, his head for the game to really help St. Vincent-St. Mary score some points in this match.
So not a ton of height for either one of these teams, but more than perhaps you would think. Jaden Jacobs, 6'5", he's an oppo hitter, but he's a kid, as I mentioned, who can jump out of the gym. Griffin Weber, 6'4", a middle blocker. He was a force yesterday. Taking that into consideration, knowing that you got big fellas doing what they do, you also have the strategy of building the spider web, so to speak, to make sure there's not an empty spot on the floor. And both of these teams do a really nice job of that. Yeah,
and I think that also comes with experience. We have 6 seniors on Bishop Fenwick's team, 5 seniors on St. Vincent-St. Mary's team. St. Vincent-St. Mary has been here the last 4 years. There's nobody standing to our right that is in awe and in shock. Now Bishop Fenwick, this is their first time. They had a fantastic semifinal game. They have a lot of offensive weapons. But to your point about Jaden Jacobs, what an incredible leaper he is. He was warming up, and I was just like, there's going to be dents in the floor because of how much he's able to get up and above the ball. But I think we're in for some really spectacular plays in this particular match as well.
Gabe Armstrong is going to be a factor. He's the other setter on this team, and there are times that Armstrong takes over the setting in order for Povsey to be able to be more of an attacker, and having that kind of versatility is also incredibly helpful.
Yeah, again, I think that for both of these teams, versatility is going to be key, because predictability is the death of any volleyball team, because then you just send blockers to where you know that a team is going to set the ball. So the more deceptive these setters can be, the absolute better, for that particular team.
Is there an X factor on either one of these squads? I have one in the back of my mind, but I don't want to steal thunder. So is there somebody who stands out to you and you're just thinking like, yeah, this guy could be a difference maker?
Well, if I base it on yesterday's semifinals, for Bishop Fenwick, Kean O'Connell was fabulous yesterday. On the outside, he was able to use the block. He was able to hit the ball with a lot of power. To me, he's a very smart player. I think for St. Vincent-St. Mary, it's got to be Jaden Jacobs. I think they need to get him more sets than he had in the semifinal game. Some of that has to do with passing. Some of that has to do with is Sparhawk really hot? But for me, those would be two people that we didn't feature that could feature very, very big for their respective teams today.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And we want to mention the officials before we get rolling here and tell you that for this match, the officials of this Division II championship match are like this. Keith Cooley and Jim Malat are the line judges. And then Michael Mers is the second referee. That's the referee down on the floor. And referee number one up on the ladder is Mindy Leonard. Bishop Fenwick is coached by Tina Gustily. They went 10-0 in the GCL co-ed. And if you're wondering, what's the GCL? The Greater Catholic League in Cincinnati is huge. We'll talk some more about that as we roll along. St. Vincent-St. Mary, no slouch either. We're going to pause for the playing of our anthem. Our national anthem. And as we were just finishing up or getting ready to go to that, we talked about the GCL and the league that the Bishop Fenwick team is in, and that the GCL league is the team. One of the teams they had to beat to get here were the Archbishop McNicholas Rockets, who have been here the last 3 years from that region, and who are just dominant year in and year out. And that's just a sampling of the teams that these guys face on a regular basis.
Well, and I think, whether you're talking about the co-ed league or the girls league, that league is a premier league in Ohio for volleyball. And I only say that because my team has run up against them in the past 2 years.
Well, it's the co-ed in this case, but you talk about Moeller, Roger Bacon. I mean, Moeller just won a state championship. Roger Bacon, Kettering Alter, Lakota East, Dayton Carroll, Hamilton Baden, McNicholas there. Lots of teams. And then you get into Dayton, you got LaSalle and Chaminade Julian and Kettering Alter. I mean, it's just ridiculous, the gauntlet through which these teams go. And before we just say, that's a huge benefit, St. Vincent-St. Mary saw St. Edward, Hilliard-Davidson, Pickerington North, Villa Angela St. Joseph, Walsh Jesuit, Bishop Watterson, St. Francis de Sales. So no slouch on that side either. These teams have been fired in the crucible, and now they're ready to play for a state championship today.
I could make that a literary reference if you wanted me to, but I won't.
Absolutely. Here we go from Pam Evans Smith Arena. Boys Division II State Championship Volleyball. Mu Thaw goes to the ground to pick that one off. And swinging hard from the outside is Jacobs, but he can't get on top of it, and that'll be a point for the Falcons.
Yeah, and again, I understand that choice, right? They want to open up right out of the gate with Jacobs, but I like that because the mentality is that they want to get him the ball.
Gabe Armstrong on the court, serving for Fenwick. In the middle, blocks. That's the young man we talked about at the outset, Griffin Weber. He's not gigantic, but he has great timing at the net and blocks the ball very effectively.
Yeah, and long arms. His reach is impressive. But like you said, his timing really, really makes things easy in terms of his blocking.
That serve goes out of bounds off of the right arm of Gabe Armstrong. And so we come back to St. Vincent-St. Mary, and here's Nate Sparhawk. Sparhawk floats forward. Quick one in the middle. Up and down, Griffin with a kill.
Yeah, Griffin Weber there. And again, he also has kind of a unique arm swing. He doesn't have a big open your hips kind of bow and arrow action. But when he's right on top of the ball, that is what you will see out of him from that last play.
Will Lenz with the serve for Fenwick that time. Cross court out of bounds. Good effort there by Kean O'Connell, but he couldn't get it within the lines. Side out to the Irish, who trail 3-2, and Mu Thaw will go to the serving line for the Irish.
Yeah, and Keenan O'Connell there, he's dealing with Jacobs on that block, so you know why he went cross in that time.
Trying to get out of the way of that one, and instead it hit the libero in the back row, Simon McKinney.
We've seen that happen a couple times today in our previous match.
I don't know if I'd ever seen that before, and I've seen it 3 times today. Good reception to the back row. Back set, left-handed swing, up and down. That's Parker Povsey.
Yeah, he was up and above everybody on both sides of the net, and he was just able to place that ball right in the middle back of St. Vincent-St. Mary's court.
Griffin Weber skips forward. Good serve. Thaw comes up with it. Goes over the net into the block. We've got a net violation. No, we've got an attack violation against the Irish.
Yeah, back row attack there by the setter. He went up, tried to set it, tried to save it, but it went over, and that is a big no-no when you're in the back row.
Here comes Griffin Weber again. Falcons lead 5-3 early in set number 1. Both of these teams advanced in straight sets yesterday. 3-0 for Fenwick, 3-0 for St. Vincent-St. Mary, and that serve went out of bounds to give the Irish their 4th point, and here's Jacobs to serve. Cross court and out. Good effort by Kean O'Connell, but that's twice now. He's tried to go cross court, and he missed them both times.
Yeah, and I understand what he's doing. Right now, he's got a much smaller block, so I want to see him either use hands or just go up and over.
That was an overpass that was destroyed, but now we've got a net violation called on number 2, Shelton El Devante.
Yeah, he went up. He did a good job of swiping, but he just swiped down too hard as opposed to across.
Outside, big leap. I want to talk about this kid, Elijah Wilkins, listed at 5'11", diminutive to say the least, and yet he's got hops like nobody's business, and he sees the court exceptionally well. He's at the serving line now for the Irish, tied at 6. Bumper to the outside. Trying to just gently nudge it over the net, but can't get it there. Will Sabin. That's an attack error, and it's 7-6 Irish.
Yeah, Sabin, you could tell he wanted to go up and look like he was going to big swing and then try to roll, but
there's a block. Coming at it again. O'Connell off the touch. That's a point for Fenwick.
So again, the reason that happened is with that last rotation for St. Vincent-St. Mary, the block got really small. credit Fenwick, the coaches, and O'Connell for seeing that and going right down the line.
O'Connell with the serve, and a good job by the Irish to follow that ball just beyond the back line. Goes out of bounds off the serve, and it'll be St. Vincent-St. Mary's serve. They lead 8-7. And here is number 8, stepping to the serving line, Tyler Strunk. Set to the outside. I'm sorry, number 8 for St. Vincent-St. Mary is Ronan Sivak. Now Ray Overbeck to the serving line for Bishop Fenwick out of Middletown, Ohio. So think between here and Cincinnati, essentially. Sparhawk up, and he misses the line badly. 9-8, Falcons on top on the attack error.
And Ray Overbeck, only a freshman to be playing in a state championship match.
Overbeck sends it deep middle. Up in the middle. And that one goes out of bounds. And I'll tell you what, that young man, Noah Dunbar, had some incredible swings last night. And I'm sure we're in for more today. He is a force in the center of the floor.
As we said, just the athleticism of this St. Vincent-St. Mary team.
To the outside. Through this time. Fowler tries to keep it alive and can't do it. That point comes to Bishop Fenwick. Back and forth we go. Nobody's really seized control of set number 1. Gabe Armstrong back in, setting to the serving line for the Falcons. Outside, look at the elevation by Jacobs.
Yeah, and the angle he was trying to cut there, if he would have executed that, would have been impressive. But yes, what an athlete. He's got to be able to turn it into the court a little bit more.
Sparhawk keeps it alive. That's too long. He got it back after the initial dig. Falcons lead 12-9 after a couple of missed attacks by the Irish. Armstrong again. Serves Sparhawk. In the middle, Dunbar into the block, dug up. Back set. Left-handed gently. A roll shot, and we've got a whistle. We have a net violation.
Yeah, they had Dunbar in the net. Must have been on coming down off the block.
So now a 4-point lead for the Falcons as Armstrong continues to serve. Service error into the net. The announcer jinx lives.
It sure does.
So Nate Sparhawk to the serving line.
We probably shouldn't be talking at all, given the announcer jinx.
Yeah, you're not lying. I have a lot of people in my life who would tell me that I just shouldn't be talking a lot, regardless. Keeping it alive, diving effort, but not able to dig it up. Brickman gave everything he had, but Fenwick equal to the task.
Yeah, great dig there defensively, and I think that's what St. Vincent-St. Mary has to do. They have to be able to defend not only Griffin Weber in the middle, but Povsey and O'Connell, and if they can come up with some great digs, they're going to keep themselves right in this match.
Will Lenz serves it deep. I don't know what the communication's like out there, but I see Thaw, and I see the way that they set up to receive serves, and they have a situation where it looks like they're not going to call whether or not to pick that ball up until it's nearly at your ankles. Like they just watch to the very end. Povsey gets the point there. Side out for Bishop Fenwick. 15-11, Falcons on top.
Now, the last time Weber served, they scored, I think, 3 points behind his serve.
Back set, into the block, trying to keep it alive. Oh, now we've got a whistle. They're going to call 4 hits, so they say the ball didn't clear the tape. And the point goes to the Falcons. They're up 5. And a timeout taken on the floor by Logan Jennings of St. Vincent-St. Mary. So as we've seen really all weekend, the first part of the first set, a lot of feeling out, back and forth, trying to figure it out. But here we've got a window now where the Falcons have opened up a 5-point lead. Pretty smart timeout by Coach Jennings.
Yeah, and in fact, it could be argued that it could have been a little bit earlier, only because there have been some unforced errors. You've got the 4 call, you have a couple of net calls, and when your team is making unforced errors, I think that's more of a time to talk things over, just get them out of that play, than if the other team is just earning points.
Yeah. Falcons by 5. Out of the timeout, they will continue to serve. And I'm watching Sparhawk and Thaw, 2 of the leaders on this team, exhort one another as well as others on the court for St. Vincent-St. Mary. Student leadership, man, is what makes a championship team.
Sure does. Chemistry is highly, highly underrated.
Quick one. Good block. Thaw with a set to the outside. Jacobs over the block. Here comes Fenwick on the attack. Back set. Down the right side. Sparhawk comes up with it. Outside to Wilkins. Wilkins, a roll shot across. Here comes one to the near side. Left-handed swing. Good dig. Bumper to the other side of the court. What a job by Thaw. That was perfectly placed dump. But the point ends up with Fenwick.
Yeah, to your point, what a great out-of-system ball by Thaw. We have seen libero play, not just defensively digging the ball, but their responsibility of out-of-system setting has been beautiful this weekend.
17-11. Set to the back. Good dig. Back set. Out, just missed it. What a great rotation, though, for Griffin Weber. He's back there digging. He's back there serving. He's doing what he needs to do.
Yeah, he's probably asking Coach, like, hey, why do I have to come out? Look, did you see what I just did?
Right. Who else is going to do that? Up and down, but out of bounds. No touch. So attack error for Fenwick. And the point goes to St. Vincent-St. Mary as Jacobs goes back to the serving line, trailing by 4. Back set. Elevation and a big swing. That's Parker Povsey with the left hand.
Yeah, and to your point about Wilkins being such a great leaper, especially on his approach, unfortunately, that doesn't always translate to a block jump off of 2 legs, and therefore Povsey really has an advantage there.
Good kill in the middle by Shelton L. Wrapped it around the middle blocker, Kean O'Connell. Here's Wilkins from the back row now to serve it. His team trails 18-14. Off the tape, trying to keep it alive. If he meant to do that, that was brilliant. If he didn't, congratulations, because that's a great break for you.
Yeah, I do think he was going for a low flat floater. I'll defend him with that.
Sure. I used to practice for hours to hit the tape and get it to go over. Good dig. Sparhawk with a beautiful set. To the outside. Up and down. What a swing by Kean O'Connell.
And Kean O'Connell's great weekend of volleyball is continuing again. He's got the benefit of size out there with the block of Dev Brickman, and he just went up, over, and pummeled that thing to about 11 feet.
Sparhawk goes up, hits it into the block, and a whistle, and it's going to be 4, so it didn't hit the block, it hit the tape. Now, I'll say this, I know it's still very early, but those are the kind of balls, Sparhawk's ball, some of the ones Wilkins has tried to hit, even Jacobs, those are the ones that went down yesterday, and so far they've either been deflected by the block or they've been had to be roll shots over top of the block. Back set. Cross court, Wilkins with the dig. Tight at the net, didn't quite get across. And that means the point goes to the Falcons.
Yeah, that's a tough ball. It's a great dig, but it was dug right into the plane of the net. And whether it's hand-eye coordination, that's a tough ball for either side.
On the other side, a nice job by Devontae. Big swing. Shelton L gets it to go home.
Yeah, nice play there. He could have gone up and taken a swing, but he had hands in his face. Just a nice little kind of teardrop tip. You don't see that as often in the boys' game because of their power.
Shelton L comes out. He's replaced by Ronan Sivak, who's serving now for St. Vincent-St. Mary's. Gentle across. Jacobs. There's the set to the outside. Sparhawk goes cross court, no touch. That point will be to Bishop Fenwick, and they are 3 points away from taking set number 1.
Yeah, so far Sparhawk is really trying to cut an angle, and I'd like to see him try to go line, even if it's off speed.
The freshman Ray Overbeck. Sparhawk cross court. Dug, but it's an overpass. On the attack, second ball across, but Fenwick digs it to the backside. Cross court, out of bounds. The attack coming from number 36, Will Sabin, but he couldn't get it to fall. Now Dev Brickman to serve for the Irish. Across the court on the set, into the block and down. Nice little swing that time by Will Lenz.
Yeah, Will Lenz also had a really nice semifinal game. And the two outsides, as well as Povsey, just very efficient for Bishop Fenwick.
Lenz had 10 kills on 20 attacks, 5 errors, so he hit 250. Add to that 7 digs, 3 aces, an assist, and a block. That's a pretty good day. On the outside, gets across. Brickman gets it elevated. Jacobs gently across, good effort. Left-handed, off the touch. Brickman comes up with it, but there's a whistle. And it's going to be, I believe, a net violation. Not sure what was called.
Yeah, it's a net violation on Jacobs. And again, we've got 3 net calls on St. Vincent-St. Mary in this first set.
This is set point for Bishop Fenwick. Jacobs gets that one to go. With Fenwick on the attack, back set. Up and down, big kill by Parker Povsey. And set number 1 goes to the Falcons of Bishop Fenwick, 25-17. Set 2 on the other side of this timeout. Stay right there. More championship volleyball after this on the NFHS Network.
Yes!
Yes!
It's a big money bet right there.
I want big money. Can I bet too?
Well, sweetie, betting is gambling, and there are big risks when money's involved.
Risks?
Yes, sweetie. That's why it's only for adults. Let's watch.
Youth who gamble are 4 times more likely to experience a gambling disorder as an adult. Be aware. Check for risks. Guide their choices. Help prevent youth gambling. Visit ChangeTheGameOhio.org. Ready?
It doesn't matter if you're playing hard or working hard. Your workout only works out if you recover right.
Recover.
Chocolate milk helps you recover for what comes next. It's delicious and contains the right mix of protein and carbs to help refuel exhausted muscles.
Ready? Recover. Repeat. Chocolate milk, the official beverage of high school sports, is brought to you by the American Dairy Association Mideast.
25-17, the score of set number 1. Bishop Fenwick from Middletown, Ohio, takes the early advantage over St. Vincent-St. Mary out of Akron. Set number 2 about to get underway with Michelle Mimna, the head girls volleyball coach at Olentangy Berlin. I'm Chris Solwecki, glad to have you with us. Bree Stidd spinning the dials for us. On behalf of TKDS, we appreciate her and Frank and Kevin and the whole gang who takes a cast of thousands to get us on the air. And I'd like to say we have more to do with it than we do, but we really don't.
We really don't. We adjust the headsets nicely, don't you think?
That's
we
right.
do a nice job.
Right. You put a scrunchie in your hair to try to give yourself, a little extra.
The headroom.
So I don't know where I was going with that, quite honestly. I don't know what you were trying to do. First point of the set goes to St. Vincent-St. Mary.
And just looking at that first set, really just hitting efficiency stands out. Minus 333 for St. Vincent-St. Mary. So obviously they need to be quite a bit more efficient in order to continue to compete and send this match to extra innings, I guess we could say. Extra innings.
Second ball across by Dev Brickman. Good change up by the libero of I guess not the libero, but one of the defensive specialists for St. Vincent-St. Mary, the setter. I'm curious your take on it. I did talk to Renee about it yesterday a little bit, but the rules are constantly changing. We saw more changes this year with regard to 2 hands on the ball and how you set it and all of those kind of things, but there's also rumors of a second libero, and just as the game continues to evolve, we've both been around it for a long time. What have you been most excited about? Is there anything that's caused you trepidation, or is it just a learning curve?
That's a lot. That's a big question.
Well, it's only set number 2. You got all kinds of time.
I think that high school continues to follow the club game. And for better or for worse, it's like any marriage. You kind of take the good with the bad. Mr. Mimna, if you're out there watching or listening, I mean that with the best of intentions. But the fact is that the dual libero has been a part of club for more than a couple of years, and bringing it to the high school level, the rationale is to get more girls on these teams involved. And I could never, ever disagree with that fact. I think there are going to be teams that use it because of its impact on the substitution number, because it does not count as a substitution when you put a libero in the game. I think there are going to be teams that don't use it because you can't have the 2 liberos on the floor at the same time.
Right.
So essentially, and I promise I'm wrapping up here any minute now. We can get back to the game.
Nice swing by Parker Povsey to pick up the point for Fenwick, who now leads at 4-2. Go ahead.
I think that, in the case of a team that has a fantastic libero, to use another one is taking that fantastic one off the floor for 3 rotations. So I think that there are ways that teams are going to use it to benefit themselves. I don't think that every team is going to use it. So I think that as the game evolves, to get more people involved and to allow for fewer stoppages of the game without giving up the integrity of the game, I think it's a positive thing.
O'Connell, big swing, goes out of bounds. So now it's 4-4, Falcons and Irish all tied up. I guess and I'm not in the know, but one of my wonderments is, if we're worried about getting more players involved, why not just remove the restriction of substitutions rather than try to build a false dichotomy of a second libero? Just, use your libero, but let anybody who needs to sub. Even if I always have to sub for you and I can't just sub whenever I want, at least don't limit it to 3 or 5 or whatever it was.
Yeah, and I hadn't really thought about kind of getting rid of that. I think that unfortunately goes against what, there's subs in basketball, there's subs in, although it's unlimited in basketball.
Yeah.
So, it's a good point. I think I'll take that up with the powers that be.
Well, that is not me for sure. Nice swing from the far side by O'Connell to pick up the point for Fenwick. It caught the tape, and as a result, it caught St. Vincent-St. Mary on their heels.
Yeah, I think any adjudication of the rules in terms of changing them, goes through a process. The substitution pattern is something that is talked about, I think, in volleyball circles. Certainly there's more of them in high school than there are in club. I think the study would have to be how often does a team run out of subs, and does that mean that teams lose sets because of subs? I've certainly been in a coach in sets where we have run out, and it has been problematic. So
Jaden Jacobs, big swing, big kill.
And that's what they're going to need a lot more of. And that was beautiful, and it was athletic, and it was all the things that we need to see more of from St. Vincent-St. Mary.
Thaw with the serve. Falcons lead, and that one goes right off of Thaw's hands. He's frustrated with himself, thought he should have had it. The point goes to the Falcons. They lead by 3.
Yeah, and that's the freshman Overbeck. And again, technically, he's very straight ahead, and he has kind of this piston arm swing. So regardless of it opening, woo, what an ace.
Wilkins and Sparhawk look at each other.
Yeah, really, right now, St. Vincent-St. Mary needs to talk about the seams, because there are clear responsibilities depending on where the server is.
Sparhawk digs that one, but it's an overpass. Thaw sends it deep, but there's a man back there. Back set, cross-court swing. Brickman comes up with it. Bumper by Thaw, outside to Jacobs, who goes high off the block. Deflected, and it's down. The point, nope, we got a net violation. Yeah, the net violation is also against the Falcons. So the point goes to St. Vincent-St. Mary, and they'll take over on the serve. Substitution happening here as Caw Hay checks in, and Jaden Jacobs goes out. Hay didn't play yesterday. This is his first action today. Cross court, out of bounds. An attack error by Will Sabin.
Well, and regardless of the result of that attack, that set from Povsey came from about where he's standing now, which is zone 1, and it was an absolutely beautiful out-of-system set.
That one hit into the block. It was a good swing by Overbeck.
Yeah, it must have hit off of
the Irish and out of bounds?
Yeah, it must have. I'm momentarily confused about what happened on that play. This is what happens when I get older.
I appreciate you use the word older instead of just old. Whenever people who are in the same demographic I am say, I'm just getting a little older, I like, okay, I can buy that. When you start saying, God, I feel old, I don't like that at all.
I know, it's a totally different, the difference two letters makes.
Wilkins sends it up in the air, didn't get a great grab on it, but did keep the offense going. Here comes Fenwick on the response. Outside, into the block and out of bounds. We've got a net violation on St. Vincent-St. Mary. We've seen a lot of these net contacts from these two teams so far.
Yeah, and I think, again, it just speaks to body control, and sometimes young and inexperienced blockers will have trouble keeping, wrists and fingers and even their chest out of the net.
Right-handed swing, that one off the tape. Going free across, Jacobs sends a free ball. Here comes Fenwick on the attack. Good adjustment, good dig by Jacobs. Second ball across, handled nicely by Fenwick. Outside, down the line, it's good. Will Lenz with a big swing.
Yeah, one of the first down-the-line shots we've seen, but yeah, just a beautiful swing.
Timeout on the floor. St. Vincent-St. Mary takes it. We'll take one as well. 13-7, Falcons on top. More to come when we return on the NFHS Network.
Not me.
Are we good? What? Are we good? Okay.
Please tell me we weren't live.
I hope not. 13-7, Falcons on top of the Irish. Here in set number 2, Falcons on top 1-0. Good reception outside, off the tape, or off the block, I should say, and then out off the antenna, so the point goes to Bishop Fenwick. 14-7, Falcons with a dominant lead right now.
Yeah, and that was a good block in terms of placement and timing, but the hands need to be turned in to keep that ball from going into the antenna.
Back set, dinked across. Thaw does a good job getting his hand underneath it for the pancake, but he can't elevate high enough.
I think our line judge deserves a medal there. He came sprinting up to get a better view.
Yeah, he did. That was impressive. We mentioned these guys at the beginning, but hey, we'll mention them again right now. Our line judges, Keith Cooley and Jim Malotz, with second referee Michael Mers, and up on the ladder, Mindy Leonard. Our officials for this Division II championship match. I mean, you coach, and you know that you have a say in not determining anybody's fate, but talking about who's good and who's not. And it's great to see these folks who put on the blue shirts come out and do the best that they can and work really hard. But the reality is we need more of them. We need folks who will line judge throughout the regular season for varsity matches. We shouldn't have parents doing that, right? There's a lot of things that we can get better at. It's not the officials' faults. It's just an opportunity for the sport to grow because we have more officials.
Well, I think there's a couple things to remember about officiating. One, like any sport with officials, these things happen in real time,
fast time,
game time, and it's impossible to get everything absolutely right. And I would argue that point with anybody. And I will tell you, I think the lack of officiating is due to some of the abuse that they take.
Oh, no doubt.
And you know, it is something that needs to lessen, it needs to stop, so that people can feel like, hey, I could go out and be an official and help young people grow in whatever sport it is. A lot of times people ask me, hey, do you ever see yourself officiating? You know the game, etc. And I immediately say no, which is sad because I do know the game and I think I could be a good official, but I would never put myself out there for the kind of abuse, verbal abuse, that officials take, and that's in any sport. And it is a sad state of affairs, and I think we can all do better when interacting with officials.
That last kill was by Nate Sparhawk, and it was impressive. This one goes into the block, but it stays in the field of play. So Sparhawk hit it hard again, but a great job by Will Sabin, along with Griffin Weber, keeping the ball inside the lines on the block.
Yeah, and that's all about placement. We were talking about that earlier with St. Vincent-St. Mary. When you go up to block, it's not just a random placement of your hands. They've got to be focused back into the court.
We're going to call a lift on Sparhawk on that ball. We've seen a couple of them that were very close. This time, the lead official says, yep, caught it too low.
Yeah, he held on to that one a quarter second too long.
Can they keep it alive? They do. Thaw with the reception. Dunbar with a big swing, but it goes out of bounds. No touch. The point goes to Bishop Fenwick, who are now up by 19-10.
Yeah, I think that set from Brickman was a little bit too low for the leaping prowess.
Good dig by Sparhawk, right back to him. Comes right back at him. Back set. Jacobs didn't get his footing right, so he had to free it across. Outside. A touch and a point. That's Will Lenz from the left side.
Yeah, we talked a little earlier about, you know, these two teams are very, very different. We've got just an incredible amount of athleticism on one side, but I would argue a little bit better technique and in-game kind of capability with Bishop Fenwick. And that's kind of what we're seeing that's setting these teams apart with that 20-10 score.
Falcons 20, Irish 10, as Michelle just said, a dominating lead for Bishop Fenwick right now. And they took set number 1 as well. Set 1 was 25-17. This is a best 3 out of 5 scenario, as all these volleyball games this weekend have been. We were able to have a nice conversation with Tim Street, our boss and the director of communications at the OHSAA, and just ask, kind of what's next. And he believes, as we believe, that the trajectory of boys volleyball in the state of Ohio is growing forward and faster. And it's just a matter of time before a third division, maybe even a fourth division come into play. But right now, they're very satisfied with 2 divisions. And we're seeing great quality volleyball this weekend.
Yeah, and I think his point was a good one is, they definitely wanted to start OHSAA sanctioned boys volleyball with more than 1 division.
Yeah, no doubt.
But they're not where they want to be able to justify 3 yet, with the number of boys teams competing.
Jacobs sent it across, and when it came back, it was deflected out of bounds, last touched by Fenwick, so it'll be Irish serve. Dev Brickman at the serving line. His team trails by 9 in here in set number 2. Outside, or to the middle, I should say. Off the tape and down. And Griffin Weber immediately taps himself on the chest and says, that's my bad.
Yeah, he kind of hit. He was a little late, and got caught swinging right into that block by Dunbar. I think it's the first block for Dunbar today.
Free one coming. Quick one in the middle. Long. Oh, in. No, out. That's what I thought. I was looking at the wrong line. Looking at one line judge, the other line judge had it. Woo! Out of bounds.
That's right. That's why you're not standing out there on the court.
Oh, you better believe that. It moves way too fast for this old man. Good serve by Lenz. Out of bounds. So we talked yesterday about Griffin Weber and how he was recently named the valedictorian of Bishop Fenwick. And we were also told that his sister was the salutatorian. So you talk about competition in that household. But then we had somebody come up to us, I'm guessing it was maybe a family member, came up and thanked us for mentioning it and for doing the broadcasts. And she said, this is the third member of the family who's been valedictorian. And I'm like, holy mackerel. I said, my GPA was a 3, but that's a little different thing, what you're looking for versus what I'm looking for. So congratulations to Griffin, congratulations to his sister, congratulations to those who went before in such a positive experience and a positive example for them as they've grown up. It's an amazing thing to watch the best of one family continue to grow, and that's what we're seeing in the Weber household. You and I from a distance, but it's great for people to be able to see that and experience that, and we wish Griffin and his sister and all the rest the best.
Yeah, I can only imagine what maybe Christmas Day is like. Look, I got 17, you got 16, or I got 7 and you got 6.
6, 7.
Oh, geez. Did you have to do that?
I did, actually, yeah.
You did have to do that, didn't you?
The thing is, when they say I got 17, you got 16, they're talking about ACT scores.
Oh, goodness.
You say 6, 7, now we're talking about my ACT scores.
Or my daily life teaching
daily
high
life,
schoolers
that's right.
and living with a 15-year-old.
Griffin Weber to serve. Right off the shoulder. And frustration from Wilkins as the point goes to the Falcons, and now they have set point, 24-13. A chance to go up with a commanding 2-0 lead. Good reception to the outside. Wilkins, good dig by Weber. Left side, oh, what a gentle little shot. Wilkins off the touch, and that's down. Wilkins keeps things alive for St. Vincent-St. Mary.
I tell you, Griffin Weber has dug a couple of really nice defensive attacks today. He might have an argument for staying in the back row. Although I think Simon McKinney might have something to say about that, the libero for Fenwick.
He would certainly want to have something to say, and he's in there now. That one's just long. McKinney in, Weber out, Saban out at the moment, but that's one thing about Fenwick that impressed me yesterday and continues to. They don't play 7 or 8. They play 10, 11. They play a lot of their kids. That ball's in and down, and Fenwick gets the win in set number 2, 25-15. They lead the match 2 sets to none, 25-17, 25-15. Set number 3 on the other side of this timeout. Will it be a sweep, or will the Irish come roaring back? We'll find out more after this timeout. Stay right there. Championship Saturday continues next on the NFHS Network.
Yes!
Yes!
It's a big money bet right there.
I want big money. Can I bet too?
Well, sweetie, betting is gambling, and there are big risks when money's involved.
Risks?
Yes, sweetie. That's why it's only for adults. Let's watch.
Youth who gamble are 4 times more likely to experience a gambling disorder as an adult. Be aware. Check for risks. Guide their choices. Help prevent youth gambling. Visit ChangeTheGameOhio.org.
It doesn't matter if you're playing hard or working hard. Your workout only works out if you recover right.
Recover.
Chocolate milk helps you recover for what comes next. It's delicious and contains the right mix of protein and carbs to help refuel exhausted muscles.
Ready? Recover. Repeat. Chocolate milk, the official beverage of high school sports, is brought to you by the American Dairy Association Mideast.
Welcome back to Pam Evans-Smith Arena. Set number 3 about to get underway. Dev Brickman with the serve. Set to the outside. Big swing, and that hit off the block and went out of bounds. That was a slingshot effect. That ball went flying, and then the Falcons lead to 1-0.
Yeah, and you see that a lot more in the men's game. Not only with the jumping ability, but the ball, really rebounding high off of the block, and there's that release technique. You got to turn around and sprint to try to get that ball.
Gabe Armstrong with a service error there. We're tied at 1, and here's Nate Sparhawk to the serving line for St. Vincent-St. Mary. Fenwick hitting .219 through the first 2 matches. Free ball across. And St. Vincent-St. Mary hitting -159 through the first 2 matches. First 2 sets, I should say.
And Jacobs there able to get involved and to get a big touch for a kill there. And again, I'd say a steady diet of more Jaden Jacobs.
Jaden Jacobs, 3 kills, 9 errors, 25 attacks. So he is by far the person who's been fed the most. The next closest is 11. But that means he's hitting -240. Good dig. Sent to the outside. Pushed down the line and in. What great placement by Will Lenz.
Yeah, Lenz saw there that Sparhawk, who's in middle back, was kind of stationed in middle back. Wasn't going to make it all the way down the line corner to zone 1 in time.
Outside Wilkins, big swing, touch called. Point St. Vincent-St. Mary. They lead 4-2.
Wilkins on the left side. The libero will serve number 1, Thaw.
Thaw with the jump serve down the line. It's an overpass, and that's going to be a point for St. Vincent-St. Mary. Nice job at the net by Shelton L. on the overpass.
And this is exactly what St. Vincent-St. Mary needs.
Back set, up and down, big swing. Nice point for Parker Povsey.
That's a great swing, and as I look at the defense there, defending Povsey on that, they're giving him a really wide berth, and I think they need to kind of close things up a little bit with those back row defenders.
Gentle across, this one's really tight to the net, but a good job in there by Gabe Armstrong to not touch the net, but the point belongs to St. Vincent-St. Mary. Excuse me, it does not. Belongs to Fenwick.
Yeah, I think he blocked it out of bounds, although it was close. He did a nice job on that block. He was arguing that a Fenwick player touched it.
Yeah. Griffin Weber to the serving line. 3 kills on 9 attacks, 2 errors, hitting .111. Good dig there. Weber says, I ain't scared. To the outside, Jones. Jaden Jacobs, with a kill. 2 on that block perfectly.
Yeah, I can imagine that huddle in between sets 2 and 3 went something like, here, let me introduce you to number 12. Although he has gotten the ball quite a bit.
Not a bad dig by Lenz, but nobody was there to follow up and grab it for the second ball, so the point goes to the Irish. They have a 3-point advantage as Jacobs continues to serve. Outside, pushed across, Jacobs with a good dig. Near side, Wilkins, too long, but a touch. The point goes to St. Vincent-St. Mary, who is on a roll here in set number 3.
And again, it's always an interesting set 3 if a team is up 2-0. We have an out of rotation lineup for Bishop Fenwick.
The official immediately goes over to talk to head coach Tina Gustily. Makes his explanation, and we're back in action. Good job navigating the pin. That was a difficult play over there. Toss to the deep part of the field. Back set. Povsey sends it across. Thaw pushed one man out of the way and then got the back of the volleyball. Wilkins cross. Nice little rally here. Near the net. Big swing! Holy gowie, Kean O'Connell.
And Thaw was right there. Like, it hit his left foot. But yeah, that rally was nice. Both teams were kind of finessing. There was great defense on both sides.
Near side, Wilkins out of bounds, just too long. Falcons climbing back in. They trail by 3.
Yeah, what I love to see is down 2-0. St. Vincent-St. Mary is playing some of their best volleyball right now, which is what they need to do.
Good elevation outside, big swing, just over the shoulder of Sparhawk and down. Kean O'Connell again.
Kean O'Connell is having himself a weekend.
He's at 7 for 14 right now with 2 errors. Sorry, they just updated. 8 for 15 with 2 errors, so he's hitting 400 for the day. Here he is again, this time into the tape. So that comes over to St. Vincent-St. Mary.
Well, and what I like about O'Connell, other than the fact that he's very powerful, is that he's a swinger. He just wants to go ahead and keep swinging.
Wilkins too strong.
And I would argue that there are different philosophies about, telling your hitters if they're struggling, should they keep swinging? Should they take something off? I am of the feeling that you should just keep doing what you do well.
Overpass. But the point goes to St. Vincent-St. Mary as there was a little confusion at the net. The ball went straight down in front of the Fenwick players.
Checking back into the match and going on serve, number 8, Ronan Seaback.
So far, St. Vincent-St. Mary holding their own, and Fenwick making some of the uncharacteristic errors.
Floater for the Irish. Good dig. Pushed across. Sparhawk loses the joust for the moment, but Lenz goes up, gets blocked. Lenz again. Gently across into the campfire area. Point goes to the Falcons. And Ronan Seaback comes up a little gingerly as he got hit in the back of the neck as those bodies collided.
Yeah, he rolled right into the back of a teammate.
11-9 Irish lead. Overbeck with the serve. Sparhawk off the touch. Outside. Lenz out of bounds. He was trying to swipe it off the fingertips. He missed, and the ball did not catch the line.
Well, and that's the thing. When you're trying to swipe off hands, but you miss those hands, it actually looks like you have no clue what you're doing.
That's a push, and that is off the hands, and that's well done by Will Shaven.
Yeah, that one looked fabulous. If that didn't touch hands, we'd be wondering what he was aiming for. What is he doing? Throwing it out of bounds. It doesn't happen often, but I have seen it happen.
Armstrong with the serve. Sparhawk received it. Jacobs jumped a little early. Back set, big into the block. Povsey trying to keep it alive. Sends it just across the net. Nicely done. Brickman outside. Jacobs off the touch. Armstrong outside. Lenz down the line. Brickman with the dig. Jacobs into the block and down. Povsey was there, as was Griffin Weber.
Well, and I think the thing that Jacobs will figure out is he doesn't always have to try to hit straight down. He's up. He can maneuver the ball anywhere he wants, and that's something that'll come to him.
There's an ace. Off the right arm of Gabe Armstrong, and a timeout taken by St. Vincent-St. Mary as we are tied at 12. So all the momentum the Irish had early in this set has evaporated, and now it starts anew. 12-12 in set number 3.
And
What's your conversation in the huddle?
I can tell by body language that coach is really, I'm assuming, trying to motivate them. I'm going to go with that. But letting an ace fall when you were up 4 in this set early is not something that that can happen, and I'm assuming that's one of the points that he is making. And as well, Jaden Jacobs cannot, with that athleticism, he can't hit right into a double block. He's got to be able to do something more with that volleyball. And those were the last 2 plays. So those would be the ones that I would be addressing in that huddle.
Listed at 6'4". He's a junior. He's got a lot of quick twitch muscles, can jump through the gym, jump out of the gym, I should say.
Well, he'd be a superhero if he could jump through the gym.
That's true, he really would. But his ability to get better is going to be dependent upon just court awareness, knowing where his feet should be, and knowing how to approach the ball in different situations. Blocking as well. Good swing by Povsey, left-handed.
Yeah, that was almost a little bit of a miss hit. Kind of came off his fingertips. But again, his placement was right there in that campfire, right in the middle of the floor.
Jump serve, but Armstrong couldn't keep it between the lines. It goes out of bounds. We're tied at 13. So now Nate Sparhawk, a guy who has been a leader on this team, no doubt about it, from the beginning. A chance to set the tone, perhaps advance to a 4th set based on his work here. Lenz into the block and down. Nicely done by Will Lenz.
Yeah, Lenz does a great job with that. Again, at 6 foot, not small, but not one of the bigger outsides. He's got to have finesse shots like that.
Substitution coming as Kian O'Connell returns to the match for Bishop Fenwick. Lenz with the serve. Right through Wilkins' hands. Thaw catches up to it. Wilkins is going to free it across, and here comes Fenwick on the attack. Back set. Povsey off the hit. That's a point. He went, and we talked about, I keep saying that Jacobs can jump out of the gym, and he's got a really good hops. But, man, don't take anything away from Parker Povsey. There's some of these kids out here who aren't named Jacobs who really are athletic. Cleaning up the floor?
As they clean up the floor. Yeah, I mean, and it's certainly, I've told you a couple times this weekend, the level of boys volleyball in the state of Ohio is, I would say, increasing at a quicker exponent. That's my math terminology. Than even the girls' game did, when it first started. The sky's the limit for boys volleyball in Ohio.
When Jackie talked about it, it's interesting because volleyball has, in some ways, there's a big block at the net. That's Jacobs. But in Europe, volleyball has taken on soccer as one of the most popular sports in the kingdom. And so when you talk about that, you see some named players who just are, it used to be Ronaldo. It used to be some of those one-named soccer players, and now it's these volleyball players who are causing kids to want to emulate them. So that's exciting to see, and it's exciting to experience when you see folks coming from outside of the U.S. and impacting or influencing United States students.
Without a doubt. And, again, I think for the longest time, women who wanted to play professionally went to Europe.
Yeah.
And it's because the game had a bigger following. Certainly the United States is doing its part and has gotten 2 professional leagues in the works, which is fabulous. But you're right. I mean, abroad, it has been a little bit faster, bigger phenomenon.
Well, there are kids that I called volleyball games for at Wichita State back in the day who some of them are playing beach, but the ones that are playing indoor are playing in Poland, they're playing in Russia, they're playing in
Italy,
Ukraine,
is another
Italy.
place. Yeah,
exactly. Here's Griffin Weber, 16-16, all tied up. He serves Sparhawk. Back set. O'Connell down the line, out of bounds, no touch. The point goes to the Irish, as does the serve. They lead it by 1.
Yeah, this set's still very, very much up in the air. Can St. Vincent-St. Mary pull it together and get to a set 4? And of course, in the middle of that sentence, Jacob serves it out.
Service errors, yeah. Unforced errors are killers, especially this time of the match. That one off the tape. Wilkins comes up with it. Back set, back row. Jacobs off the touch. O'Connell into the block and down. Kean O'Connell having himself a day.
Yeah, the thing I like from O'Connell, again, he's really, really jumping well, but he's been using hands. He's been hitting sharp cross. He's been hitting dead in the middle of the floor. He's gone down the line. And even though he's had a couple of errors, he just keeps swinging.
Back row. Free ball across. Thaw with the back set. Wilkins down the line, out of bounds. Suhar. Falcons lead by 2, 19-17. O'Connell, by the way, now 9 kills on 21 attacks, 6 errors, hitting .143. But he is tied with Will Lenz for the most attack opportunities for Fenwick tonight. 19-18, Falcons with the lead. Wilkins with the serve. Good reception. Sparhawk, cross court, can't catch the line, out of bounds.
That was a monster swing.
It really was.
I heard that bounce all the way over here, but just not able to keep it in bounds.
So now here's O'Connell from the serving line. He serves Sparhawk. Shelton L goes up and pounds one home against the block.
So as we've said, we're seeing stretches here where St. Vincent-St. Mary is doing a good job. It's about can they get enough defensive stops, which I feel like is for anything, football, basketball. Can you stop a team from scoring when it counts?
Ronan Civic with serve. What a swing down the line, but a great dig. Jacobs came up with it to the outside. Big two. That one goes into the block and down the net. Another point for Will Lenz. Now 12 kills on 22 attacks with only 2 errors.
Yeah, that time Dunbar was just late getting over there, kind of sticking with the middle. He was late and off the net. Unable to get that ball back to the Fenwick side.
Outside to Sparhawk, into the block. Keeping it alive. Brickman gets it up in the air. Net violation is going to be called against St. Vincent-St. Mary.
The Falcons lead the Irish 22-19 in the third set.
22-19. Jacobs had a quick conversation with the lead official. She gave her explanation, and here we go. That's an ace. The freshman Overbeck served the ace, causing St. Vincent-St. Mary to take a timeout. 23-19. The Falcons are 2 points away from championship.
And I do think that, 23-19 is not something you can't overcome, but you've got to string together 4 to 5 really quality plays here. The first one being we've got to have a pass off of these Fenwick serves. It's time to dig deep, try to push this thing to a 4th set if you're St. Vincent-St. Mary.
We want to encourage you to hang around for the post-game show immediately concluding this volleyball match, as they will hand out the medals and the trophies to both the runner-up and the state champs of Division II. Tim Street was a part of that in the first championship match, which Cincinnati Archbishop Moeller knocked off Hudson to win their 12th state championship. Into the block and down. That's a point, or is it? Yeah, net violation, but it's called against Bishop Fenwick.
Going on serve for St. Vincent-St. Mary.
Dev Brickman.
Dev Brickman.
They broke the serve. Now Brickman is going to try to flip the script, so to speak, to the outside. Lens right through the hands. And now it is match point, championship point for the Falcons.
And Bishop Fenwick on the verge of winning their first OHSAA state championship.
Gabe Armstrong with the serve. It goes deep, it goes out, and the champions of Division II for the Ohio High School Athletic Association are the Falcons of Bishop Fenwick High School. They win it in straight sets. 25-17, 25-15, 25-20.
A really solid performance by Bishop Fenwick. St. Vincent-St. Mary should not hang their head at all. Great season. They've been here 4 years in a row and just need to add some consistency to this particular team. Those that are coming back next year. But the first ever state championship for Bishop Fenwick boys volleyball in their first trip to the semifinals and the finals.
Well, and St. Vincent-St. Mary returning in their cupboard, so to speak. Moo Thaw is only a junior. He'll be back. Elijah Wilkins will be back. Dev Brickman will be back. Runan Sivak will be back. Jaden Jacobs will be back. So several of the players who have played in this tournament, and I mean played appreciable minutes, will all be back for Coach Logan Jennings. How do you replace Devontae Shelton-L and Nate Sparhawk? How do you replace Noah Dunbar? Well, that's the job of a head coach in an athletic program, to figure out how to fill those gaps. But that'll be the task for Logan Jennings and his staff as they turn the page on this season, finishing second in all of the state and Division II, and looking ahead to what's next at Akron St. Vincent-St. Mary.
You know, I sit here and think about as boys season has officially ended as of about 30 seconds ago. You know, girls season is about 6 weeks away from programs getting in the gym to use their summer coaching days. And before you know it, August 1st will be here. We'll start it up all over again. And then after that, the boys will be back in the gym in February and March. And you and I will be back here doing this again, God willing.
You better believe it. Better believe it.
A great weekend of volleyball that we had the chance to appreciate. Boys game is improving leaps and bounds every single year.
Well, we haven't really said this, and it's not something we get asked to say or anything of that nature, but the privilege of working with the OHSAA is truly that. I mean, Tim Street is one of the best in the business to work with, but beyond even Tim's scope of responsibility, you talk about the different tournament directors, you talk about Doug Ute and his oversight and leadership, you talk about Bo Rugg. There's just so many folks whose jobs are so integral. And when you think about the number of state championship tournaments that they host in the course of a school year, I mean, track and field and volleyball and baseball and all of those things happening now, lacrosse, softball, all of those are spring sports that they have to deal with. And here we are doing that as well. And so they do a fantastic job and always give us great opportunities. And so we're going to pause and turn it over to our public address announcer as he introduces the runners-up, the St. Vincent-St. Mary's Irish.
Student manager Andy Saw. Student manager Kerrigan Seaback. Assistant coach Trevor Fox. coach John Lawrence. Head coach Logan Jennings. The libero number 1, Mutha. Number 2, Devontae Shelton L. Number 3, Nate Sparha. Number 4, Elijah Wilkins. The center, number 6, Dev Brickman. Braylon Lee. Number 8, Ronan Seaback. Number 10, Mason Wilkins. Number 11, Ka Hay. Number 12, Jaden Jacobs. Number 13, Precious Daniel. Number 14, Noah Dunbar. Number 15, Alex Key. Number 17, Seth Wessig. And number 18, Brendan Scott. Ladies and gentlemen, your state runners-up at Akron St. Vincent-St. Mary.
So in just a moment, they will hand out the trophy as well. We'll hear from a representative of the OHSAA. Here's Tim Street.
Of all the high schools in Ohio that play volleyball, do you know how many of those high schools have been in the Final Four the last 5 years in a row? The answer is 1. And it's St. Vincent-St. Mary. Coach Jennings, you started this program 8 years ago. And pretty quickly, you took St. Vincent-St. Mary to one of the top teams in the state of Ohio. And not only did you take them there, they have stayed there as not only one of the dominant programs in Northeast Ohio, but the entire state of Ohio. I am joined by Michael Cornathan from the OHSA. He's our boys volleyball administrator. And it is our privilege on behalf of our board and staff and 815 member high schools to give the Division II State Runner-Up Trophy to Akron St. Vincent-St. Mary. Congratulations.
Reflect on that for me, if you don't mind, Michelle. Just it's mind-bending to me. 5 straight years playing in the OHSAA Final Four.
Yeah, I mean, I think it speaks to culture, and I know that it's a word that can be defined, you know, a lot of different ways by a lot of different people. But when expectations are known in a program, when accountability is held, you know, that is culture. And I think it's obvious without ever having stepped foot in Akron St. Vincent-St. Mary's High School that there is culture in that volleyball program. That's the only thing that keeps bringing teams back, is when a group of student athletes from different homes and different backgrounds come together, culture makes them winners.
We're going to turn it back over to our public address announcer for the introduction of Bishop Fenwick High School.
To receive your individual medals, statistician Eli Capel. Statistician Maren Weber. Assistant Coach Mark Williams. Assistant Coach Jack Bush. Assistant Coach Nathan Worms. Assistant Coach Marty Lears. And the state championship head coach Tina Gustali. Now, ladies and gentlemen, for the players. Number 5, Griffin Weber. Number 6, Zach Evans. Number 7, Zach Sabin. Number 8, Tyler Strunk. Number 9, Kian O'Connell. Olivero, number 10, Simon McKinney. Number 11, Will Lenz. Number 12, Parker Posey. Number 13, Alex Wilkerson. Number 14, Sam Kennedy. The freshman, number 15, Ray Overbeck. Number 16, Parker Shue. Number 21, Vince Overbeck. Number 22, Gabe Armstrong. And number 36, Will Sabin. These are the Division II state champions in Ohio.
State championship medals have been awarded to the Bishop Fenwick Falcons from Middletown, Ohio. And once again, Tim Streed.
What a year for the Falcons, undefeated in the GCL. Your first regional championship since 2021. Another trip here to the state tournament, which you have brought with you, the largest fan base we saw here this weekend. State champs, 2021 state champs, 2026 state champs. And let's talk for a second about 2021. Because Tina, you took over this team in a tough situation. And this team still today is playing for Pete. He led this team for many years, set you on the path for that 2021 state championship, and his coaching staff is still here today with your third boys volleyball state championship. Now it's time. This is Michael Cornathan from the OHSAA, and it is our privilege, on behalf of our member schools, staff, and board, to give, he's ready to run right now, to give Middletown Fenwick the Division II State Championship Trophy. Congratulations.
You heard the conversation about playing for Pete. If you don't know that backstory, Pete Ehrlich led the Falcons to a Division II state championship in June 2021 while battling ALS. So the team used the motto and the hashtag #PlayForPete as an extra source of motivation strength, and his legacy continues to inspire Bishop Fenwick athletics to this day. And so Tina, the coach gustily, she stepped into that situation and was able to continue the momentum that was found at Bishop Fenwick, even in the midst of dealing with the tragedy of losing the coach. And we've heard stories all weekend about schools that have lost players and lost family members and lost coaches, and it's always a devastating thing, but how you respond is everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think finding inspiration in something like that makes sense a little bit more. Certainly the loss of a loved one and a family member is tragic. The fact that they can kind of keep his legacy alive is truly inspirational.
And so this version of Bishop Fenwick volleyball is out at the center of the court getting photos taken around the net. Congratulations to them. They are the 2026 OHSAA Division II Boys State Volleyball Champions by way of a 3-0 defeat over St. Vincent-St. Mary, 25-17, 25-15, 25-20. You've had a chance to see games both yesterday and today. We always get a chance to experience this. Now that you've had a chance to just reflect for a moment on everything that we saw, give me your final thoughts.
My final thought is, I wasn't here last year at the championships. I was here the 2 years prior. To me, the game has changed in such a positive, progressive way in just that one missed season that I had. And I think that just bodes well for boys volleyball in the state of Ohio. So kudos to the OHSAA. Kudos to all the coaches out there who, we all know this is a labor of love. And they've just done some really, really wonderful things. And I look forward to even better boys volleyball next year at this time.
Folks, you can always get up-to-the-minute information about all things Ohio high school athletics by visiting www.ohsaa.org. Tim Street and his team do a fantastic job of keeping that all updated. Their tournament still coming here in the springtime, and so you want to pay attention to what's happening next. Volleyball is closed for now, and we will look forward to seeing you in the fall when girls volleyball takes back center stage along with soccer and football and all the other things that come along. And until then, we want to say thank you to our folks, our friends at TKDS. Reese did spinning the dials for us this weekend, all weekend long. I want to say thanks to Tim Street and his incredible staff for all their great work. I want to say thank you to Jackie Klein and Renee DeGraff and, of course, Michelle Memna. Fantastic work from all of them all weekend long. I want to say thank you to you for joining us and listening. Very grateful to you for being partners with us in high school sports everywhere we end up going. So now, for all of those folks and more, we thank you for watching, for listening, for participating. We wish you all the best. Until the next time, have a great night, everybody.